harms of lines of rhetorics being ignored by op teams are the basic illustration of perverse normalization on how the society in Nigeria dictates what people can and cannot do with their relationship, and it goes beyond to simple advices. It goes to the point where people within the relationship are not comfortable to express their love because this turned into a solidified sphere of culture. Parenthetically, individuals begin to self censor affection, and that's what Joseph was talking about in the first place, because they have assessed that those actions are harmful, but because not because they assess that those harmful, but because the deviation invites public ridicule and moral suspicion in the first place. It is a culture molded and surrounded by social pressures. It reinforces gendered expectations. It narrows the space in which people are allowed to care without shame in the first place. What is happening in the debate thus far? There are multiple links in how the debate is often framed. And the first is recognizing that this is fundamentally a trend debate, not a universal THBT debate. This is a THO. You oppose what exists. This is a trend debate. To assess the vilification of Mumu, we must look at what is actually happening in Nigeria rather than abstracting the term into a global idea of how social media looks like usually. There's no vilification of women in Britain and India, for example, since they have different nuanced version of it. Both op teams are out within this context. We ball. We don't need fiat at all. I can just characterize how does a trend look like. The meaning and the social function of Mumu are culturally specific. While there is already a widespread global discourse that criticizes the so-called gold diggers, the Nigerian Mumu trend doesn't simply resemble this phenomenon. Instead, the vilification of Mumu amplifies and worsens it in Nigeria. It absorbs a mass-produced global stream of misogynistic content, or at least anti-relationship content, and repackages it through local languages and cultural norms that already exist before even the global perverse version of it in social media. So what this means is that Mumu labels does not emerge organically as a neutral critique of unhealthy relationship. It is a layered on top of an already existing narrative that disproportionately targets a lot of people for emotional or financial dependence. No, the reason why this started in the first place is that Nigeria is very patriarchal in its culture. This is the reason why the harms and pathway from OG misaligned the focus in this debate. This is not about women having no agency to express their love. It's also not within OO's and CO's context where they thought they can just attack the act in itself and maybe we can learn something from that. We explain that the vilification looks differently, and I have three layers of responses here. First, Mumu in everyday English just simply means being stupid or gullible. Kind of awkward that there are teams who try to characterize how Mumus look like because they're saying that this is how stupid look like in Nigeria. So that already tells us a lot about how the trend operates. It's not just about unpacking healthy emotional investment or helping people understand better relationship choices. It's about branding someone as foolish. This is exactly why women cannot meaningfully learn anything from this trend. Instead of breaking down what went wrong or what could have been done differently, the discourse goes straight to attacking people with their relationship boundaries themselves. Their care, their effort, their sacrifice is treated as evidence of stupidity rather than a behavior shaped by expectations of pressure and trust. When the message is, you're a mumu, there's no space for growth or reflection. All it produces is shame, silence, and a stronger fear of being mocked for caring in the first place. And in the first response to opening frame, and also to CO's frame, if you view this as a feminist motion, the vilification of Mumu in itself is a narrative that directly attacks women's needs and the fact that they receive more care and resources and attention in relationship dynamics. Instead of questioning exploitative dynamics, like long bombing, for example, the discourse or how the vilification looks like reframes women's receipt of affection or support as a manipulation. That's why when you're a mumu, you are most likely going to be gullible to do this. Intuition pump. This is the African version of calling someone stupid for being gullible to a gold digger. That's why the clarification in the first part of my speech is really important because the trend happens in a different social dynamic, which is the patriarchal society here in Nigeria. Second, calling someone a mumu when they have already been manipulated or emotionally pressured is just simply unstrategic. Caring or giving too much is not a problem in itself. The real problem is when your partner takes advantage of it or that care. When you reduce the whole situation into a you're a mumu, you raise the role of manipulation. You don't attack the partner that's doing it. You actually attack also the act that you are loving and caring. That's why in your world, people or the relationship dynamics are going to look far more vicarious, especially because they tend to be more toxic. Worse, this kind of shaming makes the damage stick. And this is the largest harm that both opposition teams miss within the cycle of this trend. Instead of healing, the person who was once branded as Mumu and hurt in that relationship carries the embarrassment forward. But sure, I'll take the POI from O.
It is precisely this connotation of naivety which allows, in the patriarchal context of Nigeria, this narrative to pierce through issues of self-sacrifice and give women the agency that they need.
Okay, I'm going to beat those. I'm going to beat you in your own metric. In a context like Nigeria, where patriarchal narratives are already strong, this resentment easily mutates into an anti-women agenda or anti-commitment agenda or anti-emotional intimacy agenda. They start adapting extreme alpha or red pill kind of rhetoric that's kind of has the masculine views in the first place, because those ideas are misogynistic, and it becomes the coping mechanism of people in your world when they encounter this kind of situation. What makes this worse is that this thinking is socially enforced. So choosing the case pathways is just really strategic for both team. And that's why you guys are losing. Being a mumu can be good or bad, and we don't care about it. Sometimes it's just caring too much. Sometimes it's just poor boundaries. The issue is that in Nigeria, the whole idea is being hijacked right now with how they mold the nature of their vilification. Instead of talking about situation or choices, people turn this into an insult. So in that specific sense, again, it is already proven that misogynistic characters are being viewed as a coping mechanism. It is the only way wherein relationships are going to be far more toxic because the expectation of people is far worse. Instead of saying that, maybe this partner is just simply, not aligned with the care that I have given, so therefore I must give it to someone that really deserves it. Instead, it turns into an attack to the act in itself. That's why you indoctrinate a lot of people. The real damage is that it doesn't help people understand relationship better. It teaches them to be super wary because there's a lot of gold diggers and it can be your partner, even though realistically it isn't. Realistically, it's just a simple stereotype that shouldn't be perpetuated in the first place. Bro, you guys are arguing for a THBT. You guys didn't even bother grasping any matters on this. I propose.